pleased to have the gentleman from California, Speaker McCarthy.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let me first say how grateful I am to Congressman Graves and Mr. McHenry. They have given their time and talents to the efforts for more than a month. Our entire conference and country owes them a debt of gratitude. And to my conference, thank you. You worked hard. When I went to see the President on February 1st, sat in the Oval Office right in the chair across, I said, Mr. President, the debt limit's coming. At that time, Janet Yellen said it'd be into maybe August, July. I said we should work together. I said there's only two things, Mr. President. Never raise taxes, and we have to spend less than we spent this year. He said we would meet, but for 97 days, we would never meet. It wasn't until this House took action to pass. I sit back and I think for one moment, what if that bill didn't pass because nothing passed in the Senate? If that bill had not passed, the only other option is sitting over here in a discharge position. Just needs a few more signatures, and it would be just raise the debt. Just raise the debt. But tonight is going to be different. Tonight we're going to do something we haven't done before. Tonight we're going to give America hope. Tonight we are going to vote for the largest savings in American history, over $2.1 trillion. That's what we'll vote on. Mr. Speaker, every great nation that has overextended itself has collapsed. Mindful of this truth, George Washington said in his farewell address that a healthy public credit is a source of strength and security for a nation. By that same token, an unhealthy debt burden is a source of weakness and insecurity. President Washington's words ring true today. We're seeing the negative effects of runaway spending in real time. Record inflation, rising interest rates, broken supply chains, and economic uncertainty. Runaway spending is also making America more dependent on foreign debt holders. The total debt we owe to other countries is $7.4 trillion. Countries like China are buying more of our farmland, more of our businesses, and more of our debt. This is unsustainable, but what's even worse, it is dangerous. But runaway spending is more than an economic and national security problem. My belief, Mr. Speaker, it is a moral problem. Mr. Speaker, this is Haley. Haley was born at 9:58 a.m. on April 11th of this year. She weighed 6 pounds and 7 ounces. Her blue eyes, she got that from her dad. That button nose, she got that from her mom. And the $95,000 bill, she got that from Washington. Not a very good gift for a newborn. That's Haley's portion of the national debt. And sadly, Haley is not alone. Every child who is born today owes $95,000 in debt. Mr. Speaker, that's $10,000 more in debt for every child since this president took office. It reminds me of what Ronald Reagan once said. When a business or an individual spends more than it makes, it goes bankrupt. When government does it, it sends you the bill. Mr. Speaker, to continue Washington's spending addiction is both irresponsible and just wrong. So let's stop it. I'll be honest, tonight's bill doesn't stop it. But for the first time, we begin to turn the ship. This shouldn't be our last. It shouldn't even be a debate. We should challenge each other for how could we put ourselves on a fiscal path even better. For months, President Biden and Senator Schumer were adamant that they would not negotiate spending cuts. Mr. Speaker, I remember watching Senator Schumer on George Stephanopoulos one Sunday. He said, just watch. We're going to break them. The Republicans can't get together. They can't pass a bill. And it's going to be a clean debt ceiling. You just watch. The only person that didn't pass the bill was the person who made that quote. They demanded a clean debt limit, which really means they spend more and you just pay more in taxes. House Republicans said no. Over the past 4 months, we fought hard to change how Washington works. We stopped the Democrats from writing a blank check for more spending after the largest spending binge in American history that brought us some of the worst inflation our nation has ever known. We used the power we had to force the president to negotiate. You would watch me day after day requesting to negotiate with the president. We produced a bill that in divided government takes a step towards smaller government, less regulation, more economic growth, and more take-home pay. And unlike previous speakers, you don't have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. You had 72 hours to read it, and it's only 99 pages. 15 of those pages were just rescissions. Just money that we had spent that sat there. Here's the bottom line, Mr. Speaker. The Fiscal Responsibility Act is the biggest spending cut in American history. I, for one, Mr. Speaker, don't want to be on the wrong side of history. Yeah, I could say, I'm going to vote no because there's something not in the bill. If I took that philosophy, I would never vote yes. I simply read the bills in front of me and decide, is this good for the country? I would say that answer is easily yes. Taxpayers will save an additional $2.1 trillion, and for the first time in more than a decade, Congress will spend less next year than this year. In fact, Fiscal Responsibility Act is the only bill that reduces overall spending, reduces non-defense spending, and reduces the deficit unlike any other debt limit increase in recent history. We're finally bending the curve on discretionary spending because of this bill. And we're doing it while at the same time raising our national defense and our veterans fully funded, with Social Security and Medicare preserved, and without raising a penny in new taxes. That is a major victory. And Mr. Speaker, it's only part of the story. Tens of billions of dollars in unspent COVID funds will be clawed back for the taxpayers because of this bill's spending rescissions, the largest in American history. If you add up all the rescissions in American history and you add them together, this is larger than that. I think it's only common sense that if the pandemic is over, but the billions of dollars have not been spent, why would you spend them now if the pandemic's over? Why don't we provide them back to the hardworking taxpayer that has to pay it? Like Allie. And Mr. Speaker, just listen to some of the programs we're slashing. $400 million from the CDC's Global Health Fund. Don't get worried, because that's not going to help you. That's your hardworking taxpayer money being spent to countries like China. I guess that's to help China be able to buy our bonds, and we'll pay for their health care. I'd rather focus on America. Or what about work-capable adults without dependents? They're going to get a job, they're going to learn new skills, and they're going to earn a paycheck because of this bill's new welfare reforms. These reforms are going to change people's lives. When you vote on this bill today, somebody's going to have a better job tomorrow because of your vote. Families will be stronger and more self-sufficient. People will be lifted out of poverty. Don't believe anyone who says our plan hurts America's social safety net. We are such a generous nation. And when people fall on tough times, we help them. That will not change. But this is an important assistance programs are supposed to be temporary, not permanent. A hand up, not a handout. A bridge to independence, not a barrier. If you also vote for this bill tonight, new roads, new bridges, and highways and pipelines, they're going to be built sooner and faster because of this bill's permitting reform. Mr. Speaker, I know that is a bipartisan view. We talk about it all the time. We see it in our homes. We get frustrated that you'll vote for a transportation bill, you'll serve 10 years in the Congress, and once you leave, the person who followed you 6 years later will be at the groundbreaking because we spent all that time studying. I think America wants to compete. They want to cut the red tape. They just want a fair process. This is going to save families money and make America less dependent on China, changing America for the better for decades to come. Finally, taxpayers will be more protected from harassment and costly new burdens. We rejected every single one of President Biden's demands for new tax hikes and new government mandates. And believe me, from the person sitting in the room with the president, he asked every single time. Instead, this bill eliminates the funding that would have been spent this year to hire Biden's army of new IRS agents. Overall, we've cut more than $20 billion from Biden's IRS slush fund. To date, they haven't been able to hire a single one of Biden's 87,000 new IRS agents. And I'll come back year after year to keep it that way. Because the government should work for you, not go after you. Mr. Speaker, passing the Fiscal Responsibility Act is a crucial first step for putting America back on track. It does what is responsible for our children, what is possible in divided government, and what is required by our principles and promises. Yes, it may not include everything we need to do, but it is absolutely what we need to do right now. Moving forward, House Republicans will build on its structural reforms. And as we do, the American people can be confident in this: I'm never giving up. I heard the detractors. I'm an optimist. You have to be. I sat there 15 rounds. I'm an optimist. I waited 97 days and listened to the president tell me he will never meet with me. But I woke up every morning thinking this might be the day. I'm an optimist that I watched division in this house. But tonight, we might come together to do something very big for this nation. Don't mistake it that it's the solution. It's the beginning. And we should wake up the next morning on how we could do better even tomorrow. You see, I will never give up on the American people. And I will never give up on keeping our commitment to America. With that, I yield back.
Does the gentleman from Missouri